MP, I've got a secret.
You're having a baby, Bretto.
No, MP.
You're moving to Byron.
Not yet.
You've got me a Christmas present.
Well, maybe. But that's not the secret.
What is it, Bretto?
I'm not telling.
Mate, that is just cruel.
I'll tell you next week.
When will you tell me, Bretto?
Well, Monday, November 26th, 8 a.m. MP. Put it in the calendar. It is big news. And I think thousands of Wellness Couch podcast listeners will love it.
All right, Bretto, it's in the calendar. 8 a.m, Monday, November 26th. To get Bretto's big news, make sure you get your emails by signing up at thewellnesscouch.com or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Wellness Couch.
Do it now before the secret gets out. Do you want to know the secret, MP?
Stop teasing, Bretto.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives.
Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, featuring your hosts Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is, oh, for fuck's sake, when transitions start getting hard. And we both are hitting transitions at the moment.
We really are, yeah.
So before we get there, we'd love to remind you to jump onto nourishingthemother.com.au and sign up to join our tribe on the front page. Dropping in your email address means once a week you'll get an email from us that sums up everything we've put out in the world, and you can click away on what you'd love to dive a little deeper into. So please sign up, nourishingthemother.com.au, and stay in touch with what we're doing in our week.
Now this one, when I was reading your blog, so Julie wrote a blog recently, and this was the line that stood out for me, which was, oh, for fuck's sake, which was a moment where you had to dig deep and move toward the conflict that you were witnessing.
It's true. Do you know, until you'd said that, I hadn't really thought about it. I was just kind of writing my dialogue. Yeah. But you're right. It is that moment where we go, oh, God, again.
You know, and every part of us just wants to shut that shit down.
Yeah, or walk away from it.
Walk away, but you dig a little deeper.
Yeah, it's true.
And you find your path forward. And I just thought, gosh, that totally landed for me, and I'm sure it landed for so many people who read it. So I thought, let's unpack what that looks like in terms of the edges that our kids are facing and that we're facing as they go through transitions. And, you know, so often I think we're looking for like the clear feedback from them that things are getting hard, or that, you know, that they're having a hard time. But, you know, through child's behaviour and child development, it's not black and white like that. You know, it's very, you know, subtle sometimes. And we can get very stuck, I think, in wanting to label the behaviour or stop the behaviour or change the behaviour without seeking to understand why it's manifesting.
Yeah, totally.
And when we have the why, we then have the how, I think.
It brings the power back, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden you don't feel resourceless or unsure or overwhelmed. You go, oh, I get this. Yeah. All right. Well, here's how we can move forward.
Yeah. And you're also not, I mean, ultimately when we are feeling like we're drowning in this parenting game and we are feeling resourceless, we want to escape that. We don't want to move toward it. Yeah. So we find ourselves in patterns where we're just not wanting to go there, and we're not enjoying our children as a result if we're continually hitting these kinds of edges. So I guess I want to hash out a little bit of the context of that blog.
Yeah, sure.
So that then we can go beyond that in terms of tools and I guess what to look for in terms of red flags with our own kids.
Yeah. I think I want to start with just saying the reason I write and the reason we speak so honestly is because we really want to kind of break open that, I don't know what it is, diamond encrusted cage that says conscious parents are always kind and loving.
And calm.
Yeah. No,
it's like that. It's like our video series, which was, I think one of them was Zen as fuck. You know,
it was, because I think we can hold ourselves to, I think generally if you're on a conscious parenting path, you're trying to undo or rewrite some part of your own past. Yeah. So you to some or many degrees have parenting wounds, probably a mother wound of some sort. And so I think we concoct in our head the story and the picture of what an ideal or perfect mother looks like. And that perfect mother, I bet you have never seen in any one woman ever.
No.
And you've decided in your mind, you've picked pieces of maybe Maybe you and I, Bridget, you've picked pieces you love of Bridget. You've picked pieces you love of me. You've picked pieces of, I don't know, Aletha Salter, Marion Rose, I don't know, conscious parenting gurus.
Dr. Shafali.
Yeah.
Whoever
Pinky
it is.
McKay.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, you've picked pieces of everyone and you've put them together and you've pasted together this idea of this perfect mother. And then you self-flagellate in guilt and shame when you fall off the pedestal. But the point is, there is no wagon. And if there's no wagon, there is nothing to fall off of. And there is no perfect parent and there is no perfect woman, and none of those traits will be altogether mushed in a single person.
No. And in fact, nor do our children, despite what books might say and despite what, therapists might say, nor do children want that from us. They want our authenticity. Sometimes they want our anger. Sometimes they want our frustration. Sometimes they want all the things from us that we are judging as not okay.
And when you say sometimes they want that, what does that mean?
That means that they are looking, if you imagine children's brains as new information seeking organs that are trying to learn about their world and trying to construct their reality, they're looking for templates of emotions. They're looking for basically a blueprint for what the true colours of the emotional world look like. And so if we've judged some emotions as okay and some as not okay in ourselves, then our children are going to get the message that, you can kind of sort of like feel that one, but we've not made that one okay. So don't spend any time there and just stay over in this area over here. They then get the message that within themselves, these ones that they're feeling and these ones that are consuming them mustn't be okay because mum or dad hasn't made them safe. They haven't given me an authentic template of what it looks like to stand in my truth in that emotion. And so they get mixed messages. And when children get mixed messages, they get confused, they have behavioural challenges, and they lose connection with themselves. Because the more connected we can be in our own emotions and feelings and authentic self, the more our children get a clearer view of what authenticity looks like.
So they can do that for themselves.
So they can do that for themselves. And so busting the myth of the perfect parent has got to be a goal here. If you're stuck in that, self-judgment, vortex that keeps you out of presence with yourself and with your children.
Yeah, totally. So that's where I wanted to stay was, I don't want you thinking you listen to bits and pieces of the wisdom that Bridget and I have on this podcast and then decide that, we have all these ideas on, how to parent children and how to raise them consciously, and that we ourselves are not fighting our own inner demons, inner battles, inner triggers, because it's not true. So, for fuck's sake, is me on the inside going, God, have I got it in me to do this again? And, honestly, sometimes I'm not going to. But I also know and respect my own authenticity enough to know I am doing no one, including my children, any favours by forcing myself to do something that doesn't feel congruent and aligned. And in fact, with parenting, you never lose an opportunity. So even if I don't show up in the way I consider the right way to show up right now, I'm not missing that opportunity, because even if my children repress, suppress, shove it down, get upset, they are going to bring that back up at the next given opportunity.
Yeah.
And at that next given opportunity, or several, I can decide whether I have the capacity to hold it or not. I don't lose an opportunity. Same as there's no crying that's wasted. If I can hold with spaciousness and capacity tears, if I can only hold them till I can hold them and they haven't finished, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it is not wasted. You've got some out. But don't go forcing yourself into holding stuff that you can't actually hold, because it doesn't heal.
No.
When you're trying
to... It doesn't heal them and it doesn't heal you.
No, when you're trying to mentally be somewhere but physically and emotionally and consciously you're not, there's also a mixed message there, and it becomes unsafe because children feel us more than they hear us. So, you know, I just want to say I really get where you're at. And this conscious parenting gig doesn't mean I can hold 99.9% of my child's everything. No, because you're human.
Yeah.
And you have your own shit going on and your own desires and your own resources, and you are in a dynamic. You are in a dynamic with your partner. You are in a dynamic with your children. You are in a dynamic with your family. And you are all kind of moving together and cycling together and pushing edges and showing up and not showing up, and all of it is serving you.
Yeah.
So to view something as one way, I think, is also a disservice to yourselves and your children when you're not able to see the full worth of what's actually happening in that dynamic.
I love that you've called that out.
That's where I wanted to start, Bridget. Now where do you want to go?
Love it. So now I want to, for those who haven't read the blog, is give a little bit of a context for the story, I suppose. So if you're wanting to go back after the podcast and check out what the blog's called.
Sorry, I'm just on my computer at the same time.
At the moment. So it's called Tell Your Children the Stories That Will Heal. And really, let's just run through briefly what it's about. So let's paint the picture for where you were and what you heard and how you moved through that.
All right. So I'm transitioning at the moment with my third child from kindergarten to primary school. And I think that last 6 months of kindergarten as we're moving into primary school is always a time of transition. And certainly has been and has played out differently for each of my children. So my third child came through this, and I noticed normally she's been my hard baby, but then she got easy. And she's such a talker and an emotional communicator that I was like, cool, I've got this jam. Until we hit about halfway through this year and I was like, fuck me. There is so much here. I can't hold it all. Like, come on, give me a break. And it just keeps coming and it just keeps coming. And I feel like I'm on a broken record, and I'm like, really? Again? We're here? Just everything is massive. I feel like Lola is the siren on her own little stage production of drama. And it took me probably a good couple of months of going, what the actual fuck is going on here? To go, oh, hang on a minute. We're in the last 6 months of 4-year-old kinder. Oh, transitions. And I actually went back to our transitions toolkit, which is how this whole blog had come about, because I was like, we forget this wisdom is sitting there. Anyway, so and it does, I think, when they call you into these transitional edges, your tolerance gets less because you're holding more often. Yeah. It's not like the one thing where you go, oh, I can see you've got all this stuff you need to cry about, and and then we reset and everyone gets on with life.
Empathy is easy, right?
Yeah.
Versus when it's
when it's like, a woodpecker at a tree, you're like,
oh, come on, for fuck's sake.
Yeah,
be done already.
That's right, exactly. So this is Lola at the moment. She is just like drama, and I can see her picking up on social stuff becomes really big in 4-year-old kinder, and it certainly has been for us this year. And we're trying on different personality types, trying to work out where we fit and who we are and what feels authentic and what doesn't. It's kind of like dress ups of people who are in your sphere. So I could almost pick, depending on obviously who she's played with or had issues with, she'll bring that home. So she'll try on this person and I'll go, now can we have Lola back, please? Because this is not Lola. This is so-and-so. And you can hear it in their tone, in their sass, in their way that is not authentic to them, but there's something that's happened with that dynamic today and they're trying to work it out. And often for Lola, I think she's socially really struggled this year and is underpowered. And so she's in a group where there is lots of children who are overpowering her. And I could choose to sit in the victim of, oh, she's being bullied. Fucking hate that word. No, Lola needs to find her power. And so she's calling in people who are overpowering her for her to find her power. And yes, that's hard. Yeah. And it is a constant conversation, but she will find her power. She will find it. And I will help her find it, but not by supporting the story of her being weak. So anyway, it's constant. And I remember this. So there's this one day and it's just like so much anger, so much rage, so much tears, so much whinging, so much whining. And I get to the end of the day and I'm like, oh my God, this is too much. So I'm just reading back through it again. So tonight was the end of a very long weekend, and by long, I mean emotionally wearing. She's fighting with her siblings in the bathroom because it just becomes constant, because siblings become the perfect way to get something out, right?
Yeah.
Because they are just an easy target or sounding board, because they're guaranteed and emotional. You can flick something and you will get a flick back.
Yeah.
And in which case that allows you to release something. So for her with her siblings, when she's off balance, it's like ping, 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 which is, fucking brutal. Anyway. So she's fighting with her siblings in the bathroom. I can hear they're trying to speak to her. Her dad has tried to speak to her, but she is having none of it. Living up to her name, as all great Lolas are divas, she's wailing in the shower about how unfair her life is. Oh, for fuck's sake, I say under my breath, because, again, I don't want to have to do it all. Her dad's home.
Yeah.
Why is it me again? Someone else thought this out.
And you've had a big weekend and you're just ready to wind down.
I'm ready to wind down. But I also know, okay, no one else is cutting the mustard here. Take a breath. Let's see what's going on. So I do all my usual stuff. So I get down on her body, on her level, and I can feel my body tingling, which for me is it's almost like the starters or the aura of an out-of-body experience, where you can start to feel your conscious brain starting to leave and you're starting to move into like an animal-like trigger, an old wound. I can feel it now. I can recognize I've worked long and hard enough on my triggers that I can feel the warning signs, if you like. I call them the aura.
Yeah.
Like a migraine aura. I can read the signs beforehand and I can choose in those moments now consciously, am I staying here with my children? Is it safe? Or do I need to go and sort myself out first?
Yeah.
So I can feel the edges of that tingle. And so I really have to parent myself, because it's easy in those moments, or easier to just like be rageful. Because that's what I want
and be
to
reactionary and to just lash out like the animal that's overcoming you.
Yeah. So anyway, I choose in that moment that I can do this. And I take a big breath and I remind myself that the deeper I breathe, the better I can listen. And the deeper I breathe, the more I can stay present. And so I use our usual sort of toolkit. And then I'm asking myself what the mirror is here and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. So I'm reading it as I'm going, sorry. So she needs help being seen in her pain and met there, but I don't want to fix it. I'm not interested in making everything fair. She needs practice at losing. I'm not interested in making everything equal, because fair doesn't always mean equal. And she's not happy with this. Oh, quite the contrary. She wants me to fix it. She wants me to take the thing off her sister and give it to her, so she doesn't have to stay in these immensely uncomfortable feelings, because it would be easier just to give me that thing and then I don't need to feel this anymore. I don't want to do that. So she gets angry and she gets physical. So for her, that looks like it started, because I was in the shower, in the bathroom with her, trying to talk to her. She's in the shower. So she starts getting the shower water and flicking it at me, like flicking it in my face. And I was like, no, we're not doing this. I'm not letting you flick me in the face like that. So I turned the shower off and I wrapped the towel around her. And of course she's fighting me. And I grabbed her by the arms in a firm way and moved her down to her bedroom. And I just said to her, she's flailing and screaming at me and trying to shut the door on me. And I held the door and said, I'm not going to let you shut the door on me, and I'm not going to let you shut me out right now. What I am going to do is come into this room with you, because when you have big feelings like this, I feel like there's part of you that needs to know that I'm still here. And she's like, don't touch me, whatever. And I'm going, okay, I'm just going to sit down on this room, on the floor right here, and I will wait for you. So she comes over, she tries everything. She tries, bartering, screaming, I hate you. You're not my friend. You're not, she's looking, she's like that animal, looking for the thing that's going to trigger me. So she's it's almost like a checkbox, I hate you. Oh, that didn't work. You're not my best friend. Oh, that didn't work. You never helped me. Oh, that didn't work. Because I'm not going, well, yes, I do. Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, da-da-da. I'm going, yeah, you really hate me right now. So you're feeling really angry. You really don't want me to be here. You really don't like that I didn't give you that thing. I'm not trying to justify and get in this looping.
Nor are you trying to change it. You're simply acknowledging.
Yeah. Anyway, so then it gets more physical and she's then coming over to scratch me or hit me or kick me or, whatever it is. And again, I have a really firm boundary on I will not let you do that. So again, I will hold her hands and her legs to prevent her. So before she makes the contact, I will hold her to prevent her. I won't let you kick me right now. You are angry, but it is not okay to use your body to hurt me right now. These sorts of things. So then she flings herself on the bed and she's screaming and crying. And so I just keep saying to her, I'm right here. I'll wait as long as you need me to wait for you. Blah, blah, blah. So on it goes. And then I could see her starting to get to the other side. So the tears they change. It changes from like almost like a casting out of the demon of this like rah and this like trying to find presence to all of a sudden it's kind of like they take a breath and the tears change to something that feels heartbroken. There is a moment of change.
It's like it's paved the way from that reactionary anger, like expression of the cage that's around them, and you've been able to penetrate deeper.
And I can feel it. I kind of feel like that's when I've cracked the nut. That's when we're there. All of the surface stuff, we've got through it now. We're here at the soft part, the mushy, mellow center. And I can hold that. And part of me goes, okay, we're nearly here. I can do this, And she didn't want to meet me in the ways that I would normally meet that mellow place. And I realize also that because she also shares a lot of me with her siblings and particularly with her younger sister, that there's part of her that craves to be the babied one. And there's part of her that craves to know that she's important. Because it's easy in a busy family to feel like you're not, that you just swept up in it, and particularly with a baby, And so I decided to use story because I know story heals. I know story speaks deeper than what our words can say. I know she will hear with her inner ear while she's listening with her outer ear.
Yeah.
So I decided to go with story. So I just gently said to her, I wonder if you would like to hear the story of the moment you were born. And I say it in my best storytelling voice. And I let the silence sit still. I can see her peeking out at me from her pillow. And so she tries once more just to test, just to make sure I'm present with her. Oh, you won't remember it. I said, oh, Lola, I remember every second. And I would love to tell you that story. And there was this kind of blanket that she'd thrown in the chaos in front of me. It was this kind of minky blanket. And so my fingertips had just been brushing it, which is also an excellent way I find to ground myself to actually be doing something sensory at the same time. So I was unconsciously kind of stroking this blanket.
It keeps you in your body.
Yeah. And so I looked down and saw my fingertips. I said, I wonder if you would like to lie here and I could stroke your hair and I could tell you the story of the day you were born. And she scrambles out of her bed and, wraps her arms around me and then flops down on my lap. And I stroke her hair because she's all wet because she's still naked because we've come out of the shower, So I wrapped, stroked her hair out of her face and stroked her face, all over and wrapped the mink blanket around her and then began the way all best stories begin, which is once upon a time. Once upon a time, there was this mummy. And she had wanted this baby for a really long time. And off I went. And I made sure to keep it like a story, as descriptive and full of colour as I possibly could, and telling her story of creation, our family story, the story of her matriarchal lineage. These are important stories. And we don't hear them if we don't pass them down.
Yeah, we don't make it a habit to tell them.
And this is also, I'm aware, programming her brain for her birthing days. This is what birth can be. This is what birth can feel like, you know? And, excuse me, I'm still getting over a cold. And I just, you know, those moments where you're in these conscious parenting things and sometimes you don't even know how the inspiration hits you. And at the end of that story, she was just like, and her body speaks love. That's who she is. Her pupils dilate, her body gets all kind of round and fuzzy and she just melts into you. And I thought, wow, how differently this could have gone if I'd chosen a different path.
Gosh.
Sorry, excuse me again. And so then I told her the story. She was absolutely enraptured. And I said to her, you know, oh, would you like me to come and lie with you? She said, oh, I would really love Daddy to come and lie with me. I said, sure. And so, you know, Dad wanders in and she goes, Dad, you know, I can't even remember what she said. She asked him a question about the birth story. Was it really your hands that touched my body? Or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, lols. It was such a special moment, you know, and lied in bed with her and off she went to sleep. And it was just like
how divine.
Sing heart song, you know, perfection moments. And we all have those mothering moments.
Yeah.
But I thought this is the gift of knowing our children are not their behaviour.
Yes. Yeah.
And that there is always a way to transition through the transitions if you're aware of what they are. And if you have a toolkit to be able to move past your own trigger to be able to get there.
And move into your discomfort as opposed to away from it in order to find that wisdom and that pathway. Because as you say, that could have gone so many other ways.
Could have gone so differently.
You know, but that was a beautiful example of bringing connection to all of her rage and her ugliness and her you know, all of the things that we
because she was all of those things,
you know,
yeah,
like
she was physical, she was violent, she was, you know, all of it, yelling shitty things. She's all of that,
and this is what it means to, I guess, teach ourselves to accept more parts of our children when sometimes it's brutally hard to do. But every time we move toward that, we not only make it more safe for them to be more of who they are, but we help heal ourselves and what we're able to hold of ourselves too. Like it's so rich.
It's so rich. But also, you know, just want to say we do get to those edges where we're like, oh, just for fuck's sake, give me a break. I can't do it.
And sometimes we won't hold it. Sometimes we will distract or we will move on to something else or we just simply won't have capacity. And they also sense that. They also know, I think, when we can go there and when we can't.
Yeah, totally.
And they'll bring it back another time.
And well, that's right. There's no lost opportunities. And even in those things that you want to judge as wrong, I also want to say, see how they're also serving.
Yeah.
Because you not meeting their needs, quote unquote, and choosing to say right now I can't be here right now. I'm going to go and I will come back to you. I think it's important to at least have some structure that says, you know, I'm coming back to you rather than, you know, I mean, I grew up with a mother who used to rage and then slam a door and you would never know, you know, you were left with uncertainty. Is she coming back? Is she not? Am I a bad person? Am I ever going to be okay? You know, like, and in relationships. Unpredictable, unsafe, uncertain. But I think if there's I'm feeling really X right now, I'm going away to do whatever is a role modeling of a back to balance, I'll be back. Or I can't hold this right now, I will come back to you about this later.
And also recognizing that you don't have to hold it all.
No.
You know, like even on the weekend, you know, I had really clearly set out some time on Sunday afternoon to do work. And so when Sylvia woke up and just super upset, and she often always wakes up upset after a nap, she really didn't want me to put her down, to, not be with her essentially. And my husband was out doing something and I'm like, no, you're going to spend some time with Dad right now because I've got some things I need to do. And it could have been so easy for me to be pulled into her pain and her discomfort and her demands to be with me.
Or the guilt that you have to be the one to do it.
Yeah. But it was a really definitive moment where I said, to my husband, I need you to take care of her because I've got to go and do this. And I said to her, yeah, Dad's going to be with you right now and Dad will listen. And I could hear her, and I went, and I was really congruent about it. And I, went into my room and closed the door and got back to what I was doing. And I could hear her so upset, like, to the point where almost like they can't breathe sometimes, like they're so worked up. But I knew she was okay. She was with her dad. He was holding her. He was allowing it all to come out. And they would find their own way through that. It doesn't always need to be me.
And it doesn't need to look the way that you do it.
It doesn't need to do that. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't need to. And if he distracts her from it, so be it. If they go and do something else with it, so be it.
Because there's wisdom there.
Yeah.
She's learning. He's learning.
Yeah.
You can't say that the way that I do things will result in a child who X.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
No.
We each come from a very different perception and point in life, and trauma is a result of a situation, not the situation itself. So we can't be the predictors of what is traumatic and what is not, because what is for me will not be for you.
It's like, I think it was in last week's podcast when we were talking about for one person's trauma is another person's speed hump. Like we don't know how trauma is perceived.
No.
It looks different for everybody.
Yes.
And so we so desperately want to justify our way as the right way because we project forward that if we don't do it this way, then there'll be XYZ wrong with my child, or they won't feel this about us. We do that. But the truth is we don't know. And it doesn't matter how we parent or who we are. Our children will perceive whatever voids they need to perceive to keep them on purpose in their own mission.
And the point is they will have voids.
They will. It doesn't matter what we do. They will have to perceive something is missing on some level in their parents or in how they were parented in order to fulfill what they're here to do in life. We can't control that.
Well, and nor would you want to.
No.
Like, here's this part where you go, this is where we need a relative balance of support and challenge.
Yeah.
There has to be challenge to create a void big enough that there's a drive to want to intrinsically fill that.
Yeah. We need to find the appreciation for those things, and the appreciation too for the edges that our children find in themselves and in their hard stuff that they, grapple with, I suppose, in whether it's friendships or whatever it is for them that they keep hitting, to find purpose in that for them as opposed to something that they need to avoid or I don't know, save themselves from.
Totally. I just had a flashback as you were saying that, just then to a conversation I had with my daughter's prep teacher today. Kinder teacher. And we had a meeting after kinder because I'm on the committee. And I was chatting to some mums and they turned around and went, oh, Lola's crying. And I went, what? I turned around and there she was sobbing in the arms of one of these teachers. And I went over and went, hey, what's going on, dude? And she, fell into my arms and she's like uncontrollable crying, like sobbing to the point where I can't even understand what she's saying. So we waited it out. We came back to our breath, blah, blah, blah. And then in the end she says to me, well, I didn't want to walk around while you were there were too many people. I was like, what the fuck? In my head I'm going, it's just the weirdest thing ever. And then it dawned on me, I went, hang on a minute. This is a regular theme after kinder, is she brings back and role plays or finds an opportunity to release the exact emotion that she's hung on to during the day. Oh. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and I was trying to explain this to the kids. So after we'd moved through it, which I'll explain for you, I was trying to explain it to the kinder teacher and she didn't get it at first. And I said to her, Lola's really interesting. Yes, okay, this is because she checks in. We check in with each other, the kinder teacher and I, about social stuff. And I said, oh, yeah, she is fine and she's doing great. but this is still a constant thing for us. So she comes home and she can be really angry. So she'll find a way to, you know, be rude and angry to her little sister, or be rude and angry to me, or be angry at me when I say something no or whatever. And I have to realize that she's just spitting out the thing she's hung on to. So it's not the bowl of chips I said no to, or the fact that her sister stole her toy or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, we have to move through that to get to, did you happen to feel angry at kinder today? Did you feel these angry feelings in your body that you're feeling now? Did you feel that at kinder today? Oh, wait a minute. Yes, and she'll retell a story that she was hanging on to socially that she hadn't worked out how to handle, and then we talk about it, and then she resets. So today at kinder just happened that everyone was there and they saw it. She's had this massive emotional meltdown. And we move through it and I listen to her, yeah, okay, you didn't want to walk through there. Did you happen to feel really sad and left out today at kinder? Oh, yes, today this happened. And off she goes with this story. And I thought, oh, okay.
Yeah, here it is.
But I think it's easy to go, oh, God, she's just so tired or so whatever, as opposed to seeing that it's another learning opportunity of transition. She's trying to understand more of her world.
Yes.
She's trying to figure out who she is in a bigger world. And that is a transition.
And figuring that out looks like continually re-experiencing those feelings to try to make sense of
Right, exactly. Okay, that is a much more profound way to say it than what I said.
But that's it, like it's almost a reparative process.
That's what it is. And this so I was retelling this to the kinder teacher today, and so I was like, you know, so if she's been angry at kinder and doesn't know what to do with it, she comes home and she's angry about something, and then I have to eventually, once we get through that, ask her, what happened at kinder today where you were angry? And what happened at kinder today where you were sad? And, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the kinder was like, oh my God, really? And I was like, yeah. I feel like that's probably pretty common.
Yeah.
But we're not probably tuned into it.
And I don't think that, I mean, it's not something that educators are really
I don't think that
across. You know, it's not something that they could
it's
cover.
not part of our cultural language, I don't think.
No.
But it is a really interesting concept. And I wonder if it's also the case for our listeners when they're thinking about their days and when their children are coming home from school and kinder.
And I think ultimately as adults that's true for us too, right? But we're not that often that good at figuring out what it was that's put us in the state that we're in.
How interesting would it be if we had a partner who, you know, we've just flicked off some anger at them, who instead of like getting defensive or raging at us went, what happened today? Why? You know, what happened when you were so angry? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like we would respond really differently.
It would be, it's the same thing. Like we're also trying to work through whatever funk we're in and find our way out of it.
Totally.
Which looks like re-experiencing the feelings until we know how to move out of them again.
So, Bridgie, let's turn the spotlight on you just a little bit. So, for fuck's sake, do you want to give any context in terms of this podcast?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that this whole piece on transitions is big for me too, because I don't think I realised that we're doing prep take 2, right? So we're getting ready for prep take 2 with my son.
Which is really full on.
Yeah, and he holds his cards close to his chest in many ways, and he doesn't really talk much at all about school.
Feelings.
Yeah, or school, right?
School.
Even though, like, you know, he had some great friends there and, you know, like, they were his world when he was there. I've barely heard any of those particular kids' names mentioned. And that's interesting to me that they could be his whole world and then not. And so I wonder in what other ways he's working through that at the same time as going through orientation with this new school, which is incidentally the kids he was in 3-year-old kinder with. So he's kind of like he's sort of straddling these two kind of social worlds and organizing in his little brain, like, who are his tribe now and how to ingratiate himself with these kids who used to kind of be his friends, but now he's, you know, 2 years older now or a year and a bit older, what that looks like. And so I realized that there's actually a shitload of stuff going on for him that is coming out in behaviors that I don't particularly enjoy. So I find myself often lately going, oh, for fuck's sake, you know, like, so that's why I loved that, because, you know, I give me 2-year-olds anytime, give me even 3-year-olds, but 5.5, man, like at the moment, it's hard. And particularly in the masculine, particularly in a boy who is getting stronger, who is really.
There comes a point in your parenting where you can no longer, in inverted commas, make and manhandle your child into a situation.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden you realize, oh shit, you actually have a physical, mental and emotional capacity to not do what I want.
Yeah.
And that is like a point in, well, I certainly remember it in my parenting of going, fuck, what now?
Yeah. And I think I also, you know, when I get really challenged, I find myself doing the things I didn't want to ever do, like threats, for example.
But that's just the, oh, what now? I don't know what this is.
It's almost like, well, what do you mean you won't do that thing that I need you to do?
Yeah, yeah. And then you realize how important our parenting is, because you can't make a teenager do something.
No. And it makes you realize that so much of the work is preventative, and it's the connection that we have with our children that sets us up.
And it's also why I don't like just taking stuff away as punishment.
No.
Because at some point there's nothing for you to take away. You can't even take away their car keys. Like,
no.
There's nothing left.
And I love that, because it's like, I often think about that. Is what I'm doing now going to work when they're a teenager? And I think any of those things don't. And I think that they compromise the relationship, you know, obviously, and sabotage connection. And so, but it's very hard if we don't have an alternative.
Yeah, totally.
You know, and if we don't have an understanding of looking below the behavior that we're triggered by to understand the underlying meaning. You know, to understand the underlying hurt, which is below so much of it.
Of course, yeah. And rage is just an easier way to put that hurt.
Yeah. So I'm revisiting the Transitions Toolkit because I'm realizing that I did an enormous amount of work this time last year.
Yeah, you were uber focused last year.
Yeah, and like, you know, Hugo like was doing regression play as a baby for about a month. I mean, it was like I had to dig deep.
I remember that.
And
I remember thinking, I don't think I could do that.
Yeah, it was full on. But it really helped him. Like, he really transitioned beautifully. And I realized that I haven't been on my A game in terms of looking below the triggering behaviors for me and seeing, this is because of this. Or, okay, this kind of play would work well here. Or, you know, even me noticing when I'm being invited into play that they're using, both my kids, that they're using for purposes of healing. And instead of moving beyond my discomfort at that, because I certainly wasn't played with like that. I don't even remember my mother playing with me. Instead of moving into it and knowing its purpose, I've been doing other things that are important, right?
Yeah, I get it.
And so it's a reminder again, like when we have this toolkit, when we have this awareness, we can see the challenges that they're going through and the challenges that we're going through, parenting them through these stages as purposeful and as rewarding, you know, as meaningful and as relationship building, and as equipping them with their own skills, which I think, you know, this kind of work does so beautifully.
Actually, as you were just saying them regressive play, I was thinking in my head, what is it that Lola's doing? What are we playing at? And I've just dawned on me as you were saying that we're not doing regressive play, but it would be a version of her trying to find that transition area as well. She's doing lots of teaching me play. So that, you know, like this in the last couple of days, she's in inverted commas taught me how to jump.
Okay.
And taught me how to twirl a calisthenic stick thing that she made at kindergarten. Taught me how to dance. Taught me how to skip.
So it's like power reversal kind of
stuff. Yeah.
So she's almost showing you what it feels like to be taught something. How did it feel when she was doing that with you?
I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Because I hammed it up. I was also thinking this is an invitation.
Yeah.
and there's stuff here. You know, yes, it's a game, but there's also stuff here.
She's not doing this. She doesn't need it. Like she's needing this on some level.
So for me, that's an invitation to
play it out,
provoke at the laughter.
Yeah.
So, you know, for instance, when she was teaching me to jump, we were on the trampoline, and so I would pretend that I couldn't jump and she had to break it down, and then I'd pretend that I tried jumping but I'd fall over, or I tried jumping but I'd land on my back, or, you know.
So you were like making it okay to
mess it up,
to make mistakes,
to not get it. And she was hysterically laughing, but hysterically laughing to the point where I go, this is great, because this is release laughing.
Yeah.
This isn't just even normal, like, ha ha ha, you're funny. This was like so funny.
Yeah, like cathartic.
Cathartic funny. Yeah, whole belly laughing funny. So I just keep pattern repeating exactly, because little kids never get sick of watching the same thing over and over.
Yeah.
So I just isn't it? Literally.
Yeah.
So I just pattern repeat over and over and over and again until the hysterical laughter doesn't happen anymore. And so that's what I'm doing with their play at the moment, is looking for the hysterical laughter point and replaying until the laughter disappears, and then looking for the next hysterical point and replaying. And you know, the more we do that, the less she needs to rage, hit, fight, punch, kick, because there's release through laughter and there's release through tears, right?
So powerful. So powerful.
Anyway, we've been talking a really long time.
We have. I'm sure it's probably time to wrap it up.
But if you're struggling like us with transitions, we'd love to remind you that our transitions toolkit is on sale for half price for the month of November, because we're sure you're transitioning your children just like we are.
Yeah, so to get 50% off, you just need to enter the code CHANGE. I think it's CHANGE.
We'll make sure we put it on socials.
Yeah, we'll put it on socials.
I think it was.
Yeah, CHANGE. Go with that. Maybe we can make it that just in case it's not. So, yes, if you are at that point, you know, whether it's daycare, kinder, school, you know, it's irrelevant.
Even just hormonal or life changes, you know, your kid's going through something right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's lots in there.
Yeah.
So hop on the website nourishingthemother.com.au to check that out.
Shop. Yep. And to connect with you, Bridge.
suburbansandcastles.com, and you, Jules?
Is thepleasurenutritionist.com.
Remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.